Welp, birthday's all over. We're back to reality. Welp, let's get started.
Welcome to WrestleMan with the podcast. I'm Dylan Shields. We talk Raw, SmackDown, wrestling news, and some fun top lists. With that being said, ring the bell.
I'm just kidding, guys. Welcome to WrestleMan with the podcast, episode 21. And as you see here, I got football in the background here. I definitely don't miss football at all. No, I just wanted to put this on. Please, I need my Steelers back. Anyway, we got a doozy for you tonight here, so we might as well get right into it. Let's get the banner up here and let's get the presentation up. By myself, once again, probably going to be by myself for the next few weeks, maybe for the next few pay-per-views. We can get some predictions here or there, but yeah, let's get right into it. As you see here on the PowerPoint, we'll get into that later, but that was at Fanatics Fest, and that was Drew McIntyre mocking CM Punk, which I thought was just amazing. Let's get into it. Playeth the Smack Talk here. So we kicked off SmackDown last week with the celebration of Queen Nia Jax as your SmackDown Women's Champion. And I loved how everything was pink, how Tiffany designed everything for her liking. And Nia was basically like, I don't like this. Pink ain't my color. And then she wanted Tiffany to bow down to her. And Tiffany was trying to get her way out of it because it's clear she didn't want to do it. And I don't know why I can't get this tag team's name, but there was just such a funny moment where the tag team had a song for Nia Jax and the performance for her, and Nia's face as they were performing was so funny. It was one of those it's so bad it's good moments. It was just hilarious. I didn't want that to end, but unfortunately Mishin had to ruin everything, ruin the celebration with her kendo stick that for some reason she has a weird obsession with. So it seems like we're getting a title match between them. I mean, I'm happy for her to be in the title picture because she was teaming with Bayley for the past few weeks. It seems like they think highly of her. They're just trying to find something for her. And it seems like the fans are organically a little bit growing with her. So I see a little bit of potential in this, even though they've already had a few matches. Speaking of a few matches, Carmelo and Andrade had their third match, and Carmelo Hayes finally got one on Andrade. These two never really have a bad match, but this one might have been their best one. And the feud doesn't seem like it's over because they pretty much brawled at the end and had to get separated. So I don't know. A lot of people have been saying that this reminds them of the Cesaro Sheamus. If any of you guys even remember this, the best of 7 series they had all the way back like almost 10 years ago. So people are thinking, oh, maybe they can do a best of 7 and like the winner of it gets like a US title shot or world title shot or something. Because yeah, I definitely, considering what we saw after the match, like the feud's not over. Eventually they both have to move on to more fresher opponents. But I mean, they, like I said, they don't miss in the ring. They have good chemistry. So I personally wouldn't mind another match between those two. Maybe if they do a best of 7. KO defeating Grayson Waller. I think I pretty much knew when they announced this match. This was just to give KO some momentum heading into his match with Cody. Great finish with Waller trying to go for his finisher outside the ring, the rolling stutter, but Owens hit his own stutter. And he interestingly won with a pop-up powerbomb. So I'm wondering if we're going to maybe bring that back as another finisher too, because it's basically been the stunner for KO for about 5 years as his finisher. So that'd be a nice fresh change of pace if bring back his OG pop-up powerbomb finisher, because that is a badass move. But as Theory and Waller were about to attack KO, Cody saved the day. And they had an interesting little back and forth afterwards where KO grabbed the title first, looked at it for a little bit, and then handed it back to Cody. So Owens here is still acting humble being in this title picture. I don't think it's going to last much longer. I said this last week. I feel like the friendship, so to speak, is going to stay until the pay-per-view and even as the match is going on. But I believe Cody's going to retain. I don't see KO winning the title, but I feel like the loss is going to piss off KO, and he might go back to vintage 2015 Kevin Owens when he beat the hell out of Sami Zayn and do the same thing to Cody. Same with Jericho as well when KO did that. So a heel KO versus Cody feud, I'd be so excited for. I see this definitely going multiple pay-per-views, possibly another match at Bad Blood, especially since it's Cody's hometown where KO is like the villain. So I could definitely see that. Shut up, Siri. I don't know how Siri went off there, but let's go to a really, really good match. One of the sleepers of the both shows. Street Profits versus DIY. Especially the last like 5 minutes, the counters they had, the reversals, especially from Dawkins and Gargano, the stuff they had was absolutely amazing. I think Gargano went for like some spear or something or some crazy move, and Dawkins reversed it into like a swinging net breaker. It was amazing. You didn't know who was going to win this match, too, because you can argue for both teams winning this, but the Street Profits are the number one contenders for the tag titles. I don't know what the hell's up with the tag titles because we'll get to what happened with the Bloodline, but Fatu still has his boot on. So I'm assuming Tongaloa is the tag team champion. So if that's the case, I don't know who's going to win between the Street Profits and Bloodline. It's hard for me to believe that they take it off the Bloodline because up on Raw, I can definitely see Sammy and Jay going after the World Tag Team titles. And I can see a world where we get to Survivor Series War Games and we get the Bloodline versus Bloodline, which, by the way, that's pretty much rumored to be the main event of the show. I could definitely see a world where one half of like the OG Bloodlines, the tag champs, but some of the new Bloodline are the WWE Tag Team champs on SmackDown. So, but you never know. Street Profits, interestingly, have not held tag titles since I believe COVID. I think if anybody remembers this, I'm kind of a nerd for remembering this. Back when Seth had a Messiah gimmick, him and Murphy were tag team, and then they even won tag team gold. And I believe the Street Profits were the ones that beat them for it. This was like right before COVID. And then COVID happened, and they were the champs for all this time. I remember them in the New Day when they were both champs, had a match at Survivor Series, I believe, during COVID. And I think that was like the last time we saw them as champions. So, yeah, it's interesting how one of the most popular tag teams, it's great that they're still popular, but how they haven't really held tag team gold. I think it's inevitable that they're going to hold them soon. I just don't think it's going to be the Bloodline yet. It feels too soon, but let's transition into the Bloodline here. The pretty much similar like format to last week. Before they went in the ring, Solo basically said if Roman can take this from him, it's interesting what he said. He said, then I will acknowledge him if he takes this from me. And then he said to Tongalo, like, you and the rest of the Bloodline will acknowledge him too. So it's interesting how Solo is like, if Roman somehow takes this from him, which if Roman ends up doing, what Solo's going to do? Is he actually going to live up to his word, or is he full of it? So, yeah, very, very intriguing. And then, similar to last week, Solo was in the ring basically waiting for Roman. It was just Tama Tonga, no Tongaloa this week. And Roman came out again. Loved the badass new remix theme in the pyro. And they brawled a little bit. And of course, at first, Roman dominated, took out Solo and Tonga. But then, my man Jacob Fatu's on a fucking boot, and he still beats the hell out of Roman Reigns. Hell, he kicked Roman with the boots, so that in kayfabe terms had to feel like hell. And if you saw the poster for the episode, that was right after Fatu did like a really like crazy move to him, and Roman's eyes were just wide, and he was like, "Oh, what the hell was that?" I've always loved Roman's facial expressions when he's taking bumps and everything. I think there's no one like him that does that in the company. that's why he was champion for 4 years, just because his selling and his acting, whatever acting classes that man took, have been superb. But those were the eyes of a man who was like, holy shit, what is this? I've never been beaten to hell like this. And I am so happy that they're really protecting Fatu. It's funny. I thought it would be a little bit before we'd even see Fatu on SmackDown, let alone him and Roman face to face. But they're just like, we're just going to do it this week and have him beat the hell out of Roman. So again, this man is a difference maker to this new bloodline. When you take out Roman Reigns and Roman didn't get one shot on him, you know that WWE is highly invested in you. And I'm still clinging to Roman versus Fatu at WrestleMania. I know people are saying it's probably going to be Roman Solo. I think they can do Roman Solo a little earlier, possibly Bad Blood, the one-on-one encounter, because Fatu's the money match to me, 100%. It's the match I think most fans want to see really bad. And yeah, the Bloodline ended up powerbombing them Shield style to Roman, so that's a little bit of irony right there. And they stood tall to end SmackDown. So I think with the fact that Punk Drew got announced for Bash at Berlin, I don't think Roman's going to be there. I don't think he's on the poster. I find it hard to believe that he's going to be on the show. I think Bad Blood is more likely when we get a Roman match. And I also think, I believe Crown Jewel was like right before Survivor Series. No one even remembers that because they're just Bad Bloods and Survivor Series are the hype pay-per-views. But Roman might be there because Saudi Arabia always like wants bigger stars like Roman there. But yeah, I don't think Bash at Berlin we're getting this. I don't think he's advertised for next week's SmackDown. So I don't think it's going to happen. Which it's fine. You don't want to just do Roman Solo right away. You kind of want to build to it a few months. So I'm completely fine with that here. The crazy thing is we haven't even heard Roman say one word on the mic. He's kind of talked shit like when he attacks someone, but dude, he has not said one word, and yet he's like the highest selling guy right now merch wise, and it's not even close. A lot of people overuse and love to say the word aura, but this man has it. When you can just walk to the ring, he didn't even have to fight. He could have just walked to the ring and he would still get the biggest reaction, sell the most merch, get the biggest pop. It's insane how much far Roman has come from 10 years ago when nobody wanted Roman as the face of the company. This was the Vince era where he forced us to cheer for Roman. Triple H actually knows what the fuck he's doing, and now we actually organically cheer for Roman Reigns. So I am just so pumped for what the future is for the Bloodline. I keep saying this every time you think the Bloodline story's over or getting stale or in the bottom of the ninth inning. We are not. It's interesting back when Heyman said this last year, saying we're only in the third inning and people were shitting on him for it. He wasn't saying the reign of Roman was in the third inning. He was saying the Bloodline story was in the third inning. And actually at Fanatics Fest, he made an appearance. He got interviewed by Sam Roberts. So it was his first public appearance in a while, which is interesting because you thought he'd return first before any interviews. But he even said, I don't even think we're in the third inning right now for this Bloodline stuff. And guess what? Especially now that the reign is over and we have fresh new champions, I don't want the game to end. I want this Bloodline story to go extra innings. I want this to go to 19 innings, Pirates Braves back in the day style type of long game right there for the Bloodline. So I'm very excited to see what they have in store. Definitely the best feud on SmackDown right now, 100%. It's kind of up there with like Punk Drew is like, and even the Judgment Day is some of like the best storytelling they have right now. It has been superb. Speaking of superb, let's go to Raw rundown again. Raw it's one of 2024, man, is one of Raw's best years in a long time. And I am proud of that 3 hours of wrestling is actually watchable now. We kicked off Raw with an Orton Gunther promo. Gunther got booed Dominic style, which was interesting. Florida did not like Gunther at all. So that is a true, proper, old school heel right there. But he basically called Orton a one-trick pony again, like getting personal with him. And then interestingly, Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium got himself involved in this. This is the first time he's gotten involved in anything Gunther related in a while, because I think he was injured for a few months and he just came back and had the Sheamus stuff. But yeah, he attacked Orton and stood tall. But then in the main event, it was Orton versus Kaiser. Good little match, nothing extremely special, kind of like a paint by numbers thing. But Kaiser did have like his breakout match. It seems like WWE sees something in Kaiser, and I'm happy about that because he gets just as much heat as Gunther does, and he's in great tip-top shape. Honestly, even better shape than Gunther is. So happy for him. But of course, Orton won. One criticism I have is while Orton and Gunther were brawling, they cut off the show. Now, I don't think that's necessarily like their fault. They kind of just had to because you know how strict the USA Network is. But maybe the timing needed to be a little bit better, maybe get the finish done quicker. And so we could see, because after Raw, it seems like Orton stood tall and then he held the world title and then just threw it back at Gunther. So it's just little nitpicky stuff. But once we get to Netflix, WWE don't have to worry about any of that. They can go 3.5 hours if they want to. I hope to God they don't do that, but they certainly could if they wanted to. Sheamus defeated Pete Dunne in a pretty good match. I haven't been paying too much attention or talking about this rivalry because I don't know how much it's going anywhere, but it was a good little match. I just feel bad for Sheamus because I don't think he's had he hasn't really appeared on a pay-per-view since he's come back this year, but the finish particularly was badass because Dunne kept attacking the broken hand to Sheamus. He had it stuck on the bottom turnbuckle. Sheamus just rips it and then immediately bro kicks in the win. I think that was a badass finish. And then Dunne, interestingly, was still laughing even after he lost because he was proud of what he did to Sheamus. So again, don't think the story or feud is over. But I think it's one of those, like, it's kind of in the lower tier of the card type feuds, but the match itself was good. It got a good reaction from the crowd. So, and good for Sheamus. I always like it when my man wins. Odyssey and the New Day versus the Final Testament. Before the match, they were backstage. And when Odyssey went away for a little bit, we were teasing this Wood stuff. He was kind of concerned with Kofi that, like, are you using Odyssey to replace Big E? And man, the crowd was just heartbroken even hearing that. And Kofi was like, no, no, no. We just need someone to even the odds and everything. So Woods was like, okay. He was like fine with it. But was he really? He doesn't seem like he's okay with Odyssey being part of the New Day. And during the match with the Final Testament, as they were going for the hot tag, Xavier Woods won it in, but he tagged Odyssey Jones. Again, love this little teasing right here. I don't think a lot of us were invested in the New Day Final Testament stuff at first, but now with Odyssey in the picture and now that they're actually teasing Woods possibly being on the dark side and turning heel, I'm intrigued here. If there is any time, they have teased so many times breaking up the New Day, it would have been a special thing if they were one of the first to never like break up at all. But the WWE loves to do that. And if there's any time to do it, it's now. Because while this is still kind of on the lower card in terms of feuds, if Woods turns heel and feuds with Kofi and even Odyssey and maybe gets pushed a little more, he could potentially become a higher mid card / main eventer heel in the future. Like, he can get, honestly, Chad Gable levels of heat if, like, he turned on New Day like that. So I hope they actually pull the trigger. I'm intrigued by this. But Odyssey and New Day won, but we'll see what the future holds for them. Bronson Reed basically destroying The Miz. The Miz got some offense in, but he was not beating Bronson Reed. He's just on a tear right now. But interestingly, he couldn't do his 5 million tsunamis to break someone's stomach in half because Braun Strowman came out and confronted him. So we are getting big man slapping man meat. All right. We are going to get a potential match between these guys. And I hope Bronson Reed, don't want to say squashes him, but like beats him pretty definitively. I think it's obvious that he will defeat Strowman. And I like this. I know it sucks for Strowman to be kind of in a place where he's basically putting guys over at this point, but a win like this for Reed can just legitimize him even more into main event status. So I'm loving the stuff that Bronson Reed's doing. In 3 weeks, he's made himself more relevant than like the past how many years he's been on NXT and the main roster. One of the best segments of the night, was the Judgment Day. So Priest was supposed to face Dominic. They're backstage, like little vignettes, like calling out each other, including Liv saying he's going to make Rhea her bitch, which, by the way, bitch was used a lot tonight. Those vignettes were awesome. But Priest versus Dominic, of course, it didn't happen. Of course, the Judgment Day are all going to get involved. But Priest didn't care. He did not care. He was beating the hell out of all of them pretty much. 4-on-1, it didn't matter. And then a great shot of like Priest surrounding Dominic, but then Rhea was behind him, blew him a kiss, and then she headbutted him, and Priest just clotheslined the shit out of him. And Rhea was about to get hers finally, revenge on Dom, but then Liv Morgan made the difference with the chair shot, and then the rest of Judgment Day got involved, and they stood tall here over Priest and Rhea. And I think this segment needed to happen because Priest and Rhea have kind of dominated the past few weeks, which has been good, but we want to legitimize this new Judgment Day. So it isn't even so much that like Liv and Dominic can beat Rhea and Priest at the pay-per-view. It's that the numbers game is too much. And even when they were getting beat up, they were chanting yeet. We didn't get Jay coming out, unfortunately. I'm wondering if he's going to be in this feud or not. It doesn't seem like at the moment, but maybe in the future he will. Because that would be interesting to see Jay team with those two. But they wanted it. They need people to even the odds. So this is kind of the story of Rhea and Priest, is that no matter how confident, even cocky they can be, that they can just destroy Liv and Dom. It's 5-on-2, and you're not going to win when it's 5-on-2. And apparently, too, we'll get to Triple H and Twitter in a bit. This new Judgment Day was supposed to be called Street Trash for some stupid reason. I guess whenever Gunther said that, some freaking writer was like, oh, yeah, there's a name for them. Like, what the fuck? Like, no. And luckily, Triple H realized people didn't like it. So they're basically just going to be called the new Judgment Day again. And thank God for that, because Street Trash, like, really? Are you trying to delegitimize these guys? I'm happy they came to their senses there. Women's tag title triple threat, between Alba and Dawn and Baszler and Stark, and then Damage Control was a pretty good match here. I mean, these type of matches, the crowd is really usually quiet for, but they were really into it. They had great spots and near falls. So Alba and Dawn retain the titles. I'm still surprised that they've held those titles as long as they had. So I guess Triple H sees something in them. It's been good matches, and there's been some storytelling here. So it's the best they've done with the tag titles in a while. It's just interesting that they are on both shows. I think that it's kind of necessary. If you ever even consider doing tag titles for the women on both brands, I just think that's impossible to do. So, yeah, Alba and Dawn are like really going to work doing Raw and SmackDown. So good for them. They have been pretty good champions. The final thing to talk about here is Punk versus McIntyre is official, like I mentioned earlier, at Bash at Berlin. And as anticipated by a lot of people, it is going to be a strap match. And it is like the old school strap match that we haven't seen in almost 10 years. I know a lot of people go back to Punk versus Umaga, who had this type of match. It's no pinfall or submission type match. It's a match where you have to touch all four corners of the ring simultaneously to win the match. So it's interesting. I feel like they're trying to save, because I ultimately think Punk wins the feud. I think they want to save Punk pinning Drew McIntyre, definitively winning until Bad Blood at their potential probably Hell in a Cell match. So this is kind of a way to because I definitely think Punk's going to even it up 1-1, because WWE just loves those trilogies where it's 1-1 and the winner wins the rivalry. So yeah, I think Punk gets this one here. Maybe like a controversial finish where maybe it looks like Drew hit the quarter first or something like that to maybe like justify another match. it was it wasn't a bad promo, but they've done a lot better because it was a little bit awkward. Because at this point with Punk and Drew, how personal it's gotten, they should be beating the hell out of each other every time they appear on screen, but not really. They kind of just had a little back and forth encounter. It was funny how Punk said, "I have a gift for Drew McIntyre present," and it was it was the strap. Drew came out and was basically like, "Punk, honestly, are you drinking? Why would you ever do a match like this with me? Of course I accept." And then Punk was going to challenge him to get in the ring. Drew wanted him to get rid of the strap. Punk was like, "I'll get rid of it if you give me the bracelet back." And Drew didn't fall for it. Yeah, it was a little bit awkward. Again, this goes back to people criticizing, why is this rivalry about a bracelet? I honestly, the thing is, if people are going to shit on that rivalry for that, I don't hear anybody saying about that with the Bloodline, with the Uafala, because that's an important piece in the NOI. Look how important that is to Roman Reigns and Solo's feud. When Roman put that on, the crowd went nuts. So people love that. So why are people negative on this? It's sentimental. Yes, it's like a plastic thing, bracelet, but it has meaning to Punk. So I honestly think it's fine. I just think the promo was a little bit cheesy. It wasn't horrible or anything, just a little bit much, because Punk and Drew should just be brawling every week just because they hate each other so much. Unless Adam Pearce said you can't touch each other again, but we know Adam Pearce is a stooge as a GM. McAfee said it, but that doesn't mean I'm not sick of this feud at all. I'm excited for these next two encounters of Punk and Drew, and yeah, it should be good. Final thing we'll talk about here is ring discoveries. First things first, Bobby Lashley. We've talked about him so much the past few weeks. It's anything groundbreaking. He's just officially off the roster. I believe he's on the alumni now on their website. I know everyone has been saying within WWE, he's always welcome back. I don't see him coming back, considering him and Triple H maybe didn't have the closest of relationships. Triple H maybe didn't get Lashley as much as Vince did. So I think Impact could be a possibility, but I think AEW is the popular place for him to go. Maybe reforming a new Hurt Business with MVP since he's gone too. So yeah, nothing breaking, just had to get it out there. I've talked about this a few times in this episode, but Triple H is on Twitter backstage. Yes, you heard that right. And yes, I'm talking about gorilla position backstage for you wrestling nerds that know those terms. So apparently, PW Insider Mike Johnson revealed interesting detail regarding how Triple H keeps the tabs on the fan feedback, not just in the audience, but in social media. He spends time literally scrolling through Twitter while in gorilla position at WWE shows to gauge fan feedback. And man, do I love that. It seems like Triple H is kind of chilled during the shows. He's not freaking Vince McMahon panicking, yelling at announcers, or yelling at people in general, stressed out. Triple H, it'd be funny if he was just chilling like this during the show, just scrolling. I will say this. I would say tread lightly would be my advice to Triple H, because I've even saw on Twitter just people abuse that news and should be like, "Hey, at Triple H, do this. Hey, at Triple H, do this." Just because he scrolls through doesn't mean your outlandish, wild ass ideas are not going to fucking happen. You're not going to get everything that you want just because Triple H scrolls through. It needs to make sense. So yeah, I'd say to Triple H, tread lightly. I think he's smart. He's smart enough of a businessman to know the ridiculous tweets of people just trying to get attention for themselves. So I think he takes the actual fair criticisms from tweets and uses it and takes a look. Like I said, look, the street trash thing. That's the reason why, thank God, they didn't change that name. So that is very good for him. I love that he does that. It just shows how in touch he is with the fans. This is something Vince would have never done. That dude was arrogant, and it was about him and his vision. Triple H so in touch with the fans. He's not perfect, but man, is he a wrestling saint right now with the stuff that he does. Like, and I know people praise Triple H a lot. I, if he makes mistakes, I criticize, because sometimes I think when Vince had the whole scandal thing, I don't think Triple H responded to that the best. So I'm not just all happy, positive all the time. It's just that Triple H is in touch with the wrestling business. Look how overall good fans have thought the product has been just this past year. He's doing something right. Anyway, let's get into updates on Charlotte and Asuka injuries. Asuka we'll talk about first because it's nothing new. There was just the rumor killer. For some reason, they were saying like, "Oh, Asuka's not going to be in WWE anymore. Her contract's going to get let go." That's not true. She's just not going to be on TV for the rest of the year. She was injured at WrestleMania and still worked, so it makes sense. It sucks that she's gone because damage control is great with her. I'm hoping if she comes back, she can maybe get treated a little more fairly, more like a main eventer, like she deserves. I believe she's in her 40s too, so like mother time, I guess, because obviously you can't say father time. Is not on her side. And she's still like killing it in terms of in the ring. I'm just saying, like, maybe push her sooner rather than later if you want to, WWE. In terms of Charlotte, she tore her ACL and MCL meniscus back in December of last year. The initial belief was that she'd be out for 9 months. Let's see the tweet here. So her current return timetable would have her back and ready to go around November. No specific dates. She's expected to return to the SmackDown brand, which makes sense. She's still on the posters for SmackDown a lot. And I can easily see her going after, because I believe Nia's still going to be champion up till then. I could definitely see her going after Nia Jax, possibly winning the title, because that just seems to be what they do with Charlotte. I'm hoping they do it though in a way that's not as bad as like or forced as like her other title wins. But I don't know what else Charlotte would do other than be in the title picture, because especially the women's roster, it's like you either go after singles gold or tag title gold. There's no really like rivalry you can do that's like no titles involved, which I wish they did a little bit more for the women, honestly. But it'll be good to see Charlotte, especially SmackDown could use a big star like her. So yeah, it seems like maybe around Survivor Series or afterwards we get to see her. Another sad news about the Bloodline, and man, this is just devastating for Roman Reigns and the rest of the Bloodline. But his uncle Afa Anoa'i, one half of the Wild Samoans with Alpha and Sika, passed away. I mean, it's good that they're together up in heaven, but man, it's just so freaking sad. Like they just went through one passing and now going through another. Like I said, not just Roman, but that whole family. It's just so sad that he passed away, but obviously prayers for him and his family. But he's in a better place now with his tag team partner and his brother. So yeah, just sad news there. Some more sad news, but this one is kind of like expected. I definitely expected this. Pat McAfee is leaving WWE, but he's not exactly leaving. He's just leaving for the college football season because he does College Game Day. And I mean, I'm a college football fan. There might be a lot of you get wrestling fans that maybe don't watch it or aren't into sports here. I mean, you can tell because I got the Steelers in the background, but yeah, he's done College Game Day for a few years. He's probably the most entertaining part of it. It used to be Lee Corso, who always did like the cool, like he'd put the mascot on the head, but he's kind of getting up there in age. So he's kind of like not communicating as effectively as he used to. So McAfee's kind of like that entertainment factor in it. He gets a lot of crap sometimes for being over the top, but that's probably, to me, that's a bunch of old curmudgeons that don't like to have fun. I love what McAfee does, and I'm not even that much of like a party / frat guy. And McAfee definitely gives me those vibes. But like him on College Game Day, like he takes his shirt off, he goes nuts. The fans love him. Like it's good for College Game Day. So it's gonna suck to not see him commentate, but he'll probably be back in January around the Royal Rumble, and we'll see him again announced for the next few months. So Nothing major there. And the final thing, and this is a fun thing here, is WWE was at Fanatics Fest this past weekend here. I believe they had 3 days of events here. And interestingly, in terms of autograph signings and interviews and all that stuff, nobody else sold out in any other sports except WWE. They got the biggest crowds for autograph signings, interviews. They shined the most out of anybody. And there were people there from I believe, I don't know if Caitlin Clark was there, but I believe like Livy Dunn, a bunch of other famous athletes like Brady was there, Gronkowski was there, a bunch of NBA players. Like there was a lot of people, and WWE got the most spotlight. Again, goes to show you that this company is more popular than it's ever been, and I am so ecstatic. See if I can go to details here on who was there. So Saturday's meet and greet were CM Punk, who was with Gronk, interestingly, Jade Cargill, Jey Uso, Bianca, Liv Morgan, LA Knight, Tiffany Stratton, and then Hulk Hogan. Yeah, what an interesting lineup there to put Hulk in there. But day 3 of the convention was Rhea Ripley, Bailey, Mysterio, and Cody Rhodes. And interestingly, there was something where Cody Rhodes had to leave the autograph signing early. And a lot of fans were pissed about that. There were a few videos of telling Cody, you let your fans down. But here's the thing. Apparently, that was some type of malfunction issue where Cody was a little bit late to autograph signing, and he had to leave to go do a live show. And Cody's not going to miss a live show. So I understand in the moment being upset that Cody couldn't make it. Apparently, Rhea was the one who saved the day and like stayed a bit longer to sign with people. If it was Cody's way, he'd stay. I 100% think if it was Cody's way, he would absolutely stay. But I mean, he couldn't, unfortunately. He had to go to a live show. He had a job to do. So you can be pissed all you want. I understand it's devastating, but it is what it is when you're famous. Like, stuff happens, okay? So I'm happy that Rhea saved the day. And Rhea is just such a genuine person. I saw a recent video too of like a security member stopping a little girl, but then Rhea like let her through and they hugged. That was just incredible, and good for her to do that. But yeah, I think I want to go to, because I think I had day 2 and 3's people. I think I'm gonna see if there's been any. Well, I mentioned the Sam Roberts interview with Paul Heyman. Punk was with Gronkowski. The biggest moment was probably Drew like mocking Punk. That was awesome. Like both of them basically took shots at each other during their interviews, which was amazing. So yeah, while I'm not like a guy that goes to these festivals, it's pretty cool to see WWE be popular in the sports world. And one final thing I wanted to talk about, and I forgot to talk about it on Raw Rundown because of course I did, was the Wyatt Six stuff. I better talk about them or they're gonna come kick my ass. So it was basically Niall versus Maxine Dupree. It was like 2 minutes. and then the Wyatt Six immediately came out, and Nikki Cross, aka Sister Abigail, attacked Ivy Nile, which was a pretty cool moment. And then the rest of the Wyatt Six attacked everyone until it was just Gable, and then Uncle Howdy gave him another great Sister Abigail. And I guess this could basically be a part of Ring Discoveries because Uncle Howdy's debut is next week against Chad Gable. I'm wondering why they haven't been on pay-per-view yet, because it's clear that they're over enough where they get those reactions. Like, I wish him and Gable had a one-on-one on pay-per-view. I wonder if they still will. I feel like this is a feud ender. I feel like Uncle Howdy beating Chad Gable probably will end the feud. It is kind of a shame that literally Gable's new faction is up and running and they're immediately going to lose because the Wyatt Six ain't losing. But I'm excited. I mean, the tag match itself, the 6-man tag, was so good. Hopefully we get to see Nikki Cross in the ring soon. But I imagine Uncle Howdy versus Gable will be great. And Bo Dallas has gotten in shape too. His arms looked ripped. I love the mask. the little hair that he has on the mask is Bray Wyatt-esque. It's amazing stuff. So again, like usual, Raw is going to be must watch next week. Let's get rid of this PowerPoint here. Let's see, you guys get to see more of the football game here. But yeah, that is going to do it here for WrestleMan with the podcast here. I will be right back here next week, usual time, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. When we get closer to Bash at Berlin, we will give you predictions for that. I might discuss All In a little bit, like very, very briefly, because that is coming up here this Sunday. But hope you guys have a great night here, and I will see you next Tuesday.